Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. This is Marti Hampton coming to you on 3 Agent. Every Thursday at 1 o'clock, we get together. We do a little bit of real estate training. Some great agents are on this channel. Tina Call, Kyle Whistle, Daniel Beer, Amy Wienans. And really, it's a forum to where we can get together, we can train, we can collaborate, we can help each other. So I'd love for you to type in any question that you've got in the chat, and I'd love it to be a two-way conversation. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to do a little bit of role play. And see, you don't know, but behind the scenes, I've got a very handsome marketing partner named Dave, and Dave's going to play the part of a buyer for me. And I thought we'd just role play some of the things that might happen in these new rules. But Dave, if you'll get my camera on again, I will really appreciate it. I hate it when that camera goes off. But I'm just wanting you to feel comfortable with the things that are going to be happening, the conversations that you're going to have. I don't want you to feel awkward. I want you to step into it and be bold, be very bold, because I think these changes are going to help elevate our industry. And the ones that survive this and learn how to do this really, really well are going to be twice the earners that they are now. So I'm going to start a little bit of role play. Dave, are you ready?
I'm ready.
We're going to talk about what would happen if somebody called your office and you happened to get the call, or they called you and they would ask you to go see a property. So Dave, I want you to play that buyer and ask me to go see a property.
Okay. Hello. I would love to see 123 Main Street.
Well, great. My name is Marti. Who am I speaking with?
My name's Dave.
Thanks for calling, Dave. I love that house. Did you drive past it, or did you see it online? How did you come across it?
Yeah, just happened to drive past it, saw a sign that it was for sale.
Well, that's great. Well, what did you like about it the most?
I think it's a nice size, and I really like the area. I thought it was a nice, quiet neighborhood, and it looked like a good area.
Yeah, that neighborhood is premium. So what time would you like to go see this house?
Let's go at 5:30.
Okay, after work then, right?
Right.
Okay, well, let me check with the seller. Can I call you right back at this number?
Yes, you can.
All right. Now, the reason for the call back for me, folks, is so that you as the agent can call the listing company, the listing agent, and see if there's any compensation offered, because that's going to make your second conversation with this prospective buyer a whole lot easier. So here's what you do. I call that agent, find out if there's any compensation, and this really makes your call, if there is compensation, which I'm seeing a lot. I'm seeing very little without agent compensation. So I think that's a very good place to be in. So when you call back the buyer, I'm going to call back. I'm going to say, ring, ring. Dave's going to answer.
Hello.
Hey, Dave, I can show you that house at 5:30 today. But before we go, I did want to plant a seed that I've got a document for you to sign before I can open the door. And the document allows me to become your advocate in the event that this is the perfect house for you and you decide to go forward. So I either have to bring that along with me and we sign it in the driveway before we go in the house, or I could email it to you now. Which one would you prefer?
Yeah, that's weird. I never had to sign a document before.
Well, you're right. It's new for all of us. It actually started on August the 17th. And this is a requirement now for all real estate agents in general. So before I can show you any property, we have to sign an agreement for representation. And the representation would be only if you decide to move forward and purchase this particular house. So when we walk through this house, I'm going to give you some detailed information. But it doesn't commit you to purchasing the house. When we move forward, we'll move forward only if you decide you love it and you want to, bring somebody else, you want to see this house. So are you okay with that?
Yeah. Are there any other points covered in this agreement?
Well, that's a great question. There is. There's compensation. The buyer agency agreement highlights and provides transparency that the compensation is a responsibility of the buyer. And that's kind of new, but I have a great track record of being able to negotiate this for my buyers. And in this scenario, I've called the seller and my compensation is taken care of. So if it turns out to be the one house that you love to buy, there would be nothing out of your pocket for my representation.
So now I'm hearing I'm responsible to pay a fee.
Yeah, I know. And that is new. And that is something that our team and I have been working with our clients and partnering with them to help them find a home. We are now going to show you homes, but before you go in any home, we would let you know whether or not that compensation would be paid for by the seller or whether you would have any responsibility before that. But for today, this one showing, there is no compensation that would be out of your pocket. So that's how I love to work with my buyers, is to provide them, just the full transparency. And that's what this new law is about anyway. So you're going to feel comfortable moving forward or not, because you're correct. I've got a lot of buyers that have worked really hard to save their down payment, and they're just not ready for any additional fees. But again, as I mentioned, we've got a really high success rate for getting that negotiated for our buyers so they don't have to pay anything out of their pocket. So today, all I'm asking for is just a commitment to allow me to show you this one home, and the seller is willing to pay my fee. So if you decide to move beyond this or have an interest after we meet, we can do that. But for today, it's just this one house.
Okay, so you're not locking me in.
No, it'd be like getting married on the first date. I am not going to ask you for a long-term commitment. We haven't even met yet. You may not like me. And I may not like you. No, I know I'm going to like you because I like everybody. But I don't think it's fair for me to commit you for a long term when we haven't met. So if you like this property or not, we decide we'll move forward. And if you want to move forward in any other capacity, we'll talk about it after you've seen this house.
So nothing else.
That's right. The agreement today does not commit you to anything further. So if you want to speak to me again, you can do it, or you can never see me again. I'm very thick-skinned, so I don't take it personally if you decide to go another way. But I want to choose the buyers that I work with, and I want to make sure that I work with them as long as they want me to work with them, and no longer than that. So are you comfortable moving forward?
Yes, I am.
All right, good. I'll bring a copy of this agreement with me so you can have it for your files. And I'm excited to show you this house because I know you're going to love this neighborhood.
I'm excited too. Thank you, Marti.
So we kind of end on a positive note. I hope that gave you a little bit of the format of how I would talk to a buyer and get them prepared that you're going to have to sign something before you go inside. And it certainly makes it a lot easier if you can make that call and that compensation is being taken care of. So find out as much as you can about the compensation to make them feel comfortable because they haven't met you yet. So that is really important to me. So your goal, I've told agents this many, many times. I want you to remember your goal is not to sell that house, even though it's wonderful when it does happen on the first house, but it rarely does happen on the first house that you show somebody. Your goal is to get the buyer excited about working with you. You want to capture the buyer, not particularly the house. So the responsibility when talking to any buyer that you're going to be talking to is to find out if they've signed anything with any other agent. And I didn't go over that in my role play, but that's a great question for you to ask when you're in the property or before you even go to show the property. So I think that's important. So, and I want to give you another point that I think we're missing today when it comes to working as a professional sales person. And that is when you go to an appointment, never leave that appointment until you've got the next appointment. And folks, I did very, very few things very well early in my career, but that one thing I always did. That was an early rule that I had. And when I worked with buyers, just like you're working with buyers now, I never left an appointment without getting the next appointment, because the be in touch thing does not work anymore. You're going to have to go to a higher level of professionalism. So always make the next appointment. It could be as simple as, I know some agents in my office are getting ready to list a house that are nearby here. Perhaps you want to see that. So you want to get that. The thing you want to get with a one-time showing is you want to get a consultation and a strategy session. And you have to learn how to do that. We're going to go over that next. But I would say something like, I'd love to help you find another property, because this one didn't seem like it checked all your boxes. I can continue to do that, but I'd love to talk to you for about 15 minutes to find out what you really, really want, what your goals really, really are. So that's rehearsing like a buyer call to see a listing they've seen online, or a listing that they've driven by. And if you have any comments, any questions about that, I'll be glad to pause and talk about them. Just type them in. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this prospective call that we've made, or this appointment that we've made. We've seen one house. I've shown my buyer this one house, and I'm going to be talking to them while we're showing the house. I'm going to be observing a lot of how they're reacting to the house, and try not to talk every minute, because they are there to see the home. So I'm going to role play a little bit with you about this buyer that I've just shown this house. This is not the house for them, and how would I go forward from that point? So Dave, how do you feel about this house?
It was okay. Didn't really check all my boxes though.
Yeah, I could kind of tell when you were walking through that living area that the kind of comments that you made and everything, you may be looking for something that's a little larger than that.
Yeah, I am definitely looking for something a little larger for my family. And even though this isn't the right house, it also makes me realize we've kind of grown out of our current home.
I know. When you get out and look at homes, I've told everybody, I think too many people are trying to find homes online. It's kind of like dating online, Dave. You just, you never know what you got until you actually have that date. And seeing houses online can be fun, but sometimes those houses look better than they actually are. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's true. Absolutely.
I know. Well, I'd love to partner with you and continue searching for your next home. I know our team is going to list a few homes that are near this area, and you seem to like this area. So I want to focus in on that. I'd love to partner with you and continue, searching for absolutely the right house for you, no matter how long it takes. Tell me, would you be open to something like that?
Sure. But what does partnering entail?
Well, that's a good question. The same agreement that we signed today to see this one house is just for this one house for this one day. So, but if we decide to connect for a longer period of time, and you decide to use my expertise to find you the right house, we connect for, let's say, 60 days or 90 days, whatever you feel comfortable with. And we'd be in constant contact about homes that are getting ready for market. Because if you remember, my team is a large listing team in this area. We list a lot of homes, and we know about houses before you're actually going to see them on the big portals. So we'd go out and see the homes that interest you, because not every home that comes on the market is going to interest you. How does that sound? Yeah,
that seems fair.
Good. Now, this is optional. I put an optional thing here, response for that. I don't know that I would use this, but I've heard this. And if you feel good about using this, you can use it, because you could just talk to this client about signing up with you for 60 to 90 days. So you could say, if anything comes up during this period of time that you don't feel comfortable with, we're going to have a conversation about it. And I'm not going to stand in your way if something really good comes. I'd much rather walk away from an experience. I'd much rather that you walk away from an experience of working with me with a positive, good feeling than for you to ever feel tied in. So really, you're giving them an out. And a lot of buyers would say,
yeah, appreciate that. That takes a lot of pressure off of me.
It takes a lot of pressure off. So if you have some resistance, sometimes you can use that. And you know, you want to sell them a little bit. I work really hard for my buyers' clients. I've been in this market a long time. I know real estate. So we'll just have a conversation about anything that comes up. But I brought an extra form with me. So I'm going to initial this form. And in this section right here, where it changes from a one-day agreement to 60 days versus the one that we signed today. But everything else that is as we signed earlier.
So is a compensation fee in there?
That's a great question. Yes, it's the same as before, but we're going to know before each and every home that we visit, you know, what their terms are on compensation. Just like I knew today going into this house that there would be no additional compensation out of your pocket. Before I take you into a home, we're going to have that discussion. So whatever listing pops up, I'm going to reach out to that listing agent and I'm going to verify that they're offering compensation. And if not, I'm going to disclose it to you. And in that case, we might decide that we want to look at the property anyway because it's a particularly attractive property. You're really excited about it. And but we're going to know at each step of the way how this is going to work out. How do you feel about that? And then you use partner. These are just some notes that I put. You use partner. I'm going to partner with you. We're going to know each step of the way. And it's a we thing. You want to be on the same side of the table with your buyer. So you're getting in step with them. The old salespeople that I worked with a long time ago say you've got to get in step with your buyer. And it's got to be, you're going to be on the same side of the table with them instead of across it. There's so many subtle things that you can do in real estate that will help your career. So it's going to work for us all. I've got just a few minutes more left. And if you want me to, I'm going to go through what a consultation might look like. You might not have that conversation in that home after you've shown them that home. You might want to ask them to come to your office. And you know, I think having an office is a good thing. I think it's very professional when you can have a controlled environment. We have an office here. And so I want my agents, I want my conference rooms to look as good as they can. When buyers come in, we offer them coffee, we offer them water. We want to set up the atmosphere. And when you're in an office, you can control the atmosphere as opposed to being in the coffee shop or being in the car or being in a home. You can get to the position where you've got a controlled atmosphere, and that puts you in a much better position. I would say if you can get the buyer to come to you at an office and meet with them for, you know, it's usually going to take you somewhere around 15 minutes for you to do your part. But then depending on how long they take talking, you might be there for 30 minutes. You might be there for an hour. But a couple of the things, the tools that we have in there is we have a home buyer guide, which is something that we give to our buyers. And, you know, when I'm working with a buyer this is their first time, this is a very good prompt. And if you learn about it and any questions come up, let's say risk management. Risk management is one of the pages in here. And that's one of the things that the agent can help a buyer with, is to put as little risk in buying a home as possible. And we all know we can't take all of that risk out. But also then I've got something that's really, really good for home buyers. And I've seen more than just first-time home buyers fill this out. This is a workbook that basically deals with their priorities in a home, and it helps keep them organized. And some people will never do anything in this book, and other people will bring this book to every single showing that you show. that buyer, and you'll get a lot of kick out of that. But we've got basically a buyer's presentation that I would have set up if I were meeting this buyer in my office. I would have this set up on an iPad or on the computer screen, and Dave may be able to flash it for you. But basically, I'm going to invite them in. I'm going to welcome them in. We believe in the law of if you give somebody something, they're basically almost obligated to give you something back. So we give a lot. We give them coffee. We give them a Coke. We give them whatever. But we also give them a little gift. And we have a couple of things that we use. One of them's I know you have little children, so one of them's a little coloring book about buying homes. I know you have children in this range. Hopefully they don't bring the children to this meeting, but sometimes they do. We give them, there's another thing that we do is actually a nice candy presentation. So we give that to them. But it just puts you in a position to where you welcome them in to your space, and you're going to make that very comfortable for them. So I'm going to go quickly. I don't talk too long. If you've ever been on here before, I'm really hard spent to go too much past 20 or 30 minutes at the most. But I'm going to welcome them in. I'm going to go quickly over this presentation with you. It's just going to be a quick overview of what the things I would point out. And when I'm going through this presentation with them, you know, one of the first things I'm going to tell them is that my whole focus of being their agent is actually their priorities. And that's one of the reasons I want to have this strategy session, because honestly, some people are really in a hurry. They're relocating here. They've got to have a house by such and such a time. And other people, it's all about the house. Other people may have a house to sell. So they've got, every case is different, and you need to find that out, but let them know that you're not going to be pressuring them if they've got a long time that they can devote to buying a house. So I talked to them a little bit about the focus is always going to be on them, their timeline, whatever their mission is. I'm going to attach myself to their mission, and we're going to attack that together with my knowledge of the real estate industry and what their real goals are. We're going to hone into that. And then I'm going to talk to them about the buyer agency form, you know, at the open house where I met them, or when I showed them the house the other day. Maybe I didn't have time to go over the longer strategy. Maybe all I went for in that meeting was to have a strategy meeting in my office. So then I'm going to talk about the buyer agency form. And and it's basically the new rules tell us that, I don't know if you've ever sold a house in the past, or maybe your parents have sold a house if they're younger people, but when they did, they chose a listing agent, and that listing agent was somebody they chose to protect their interest, to lower their risk when it comes to selling real estate. And it basically, they chose that agent, and they had a written agreement with that agent for the compensation. And so now the same thing is happening on the buyer's agency side. So now we're going to choose the buyer's agent that's going to help you personally. We're going to make it really, really personal with them. If they're meeting with me, I'm going to have assigned team members. I'm going to talk about my team, because a team approach is better. It takes a lot more than one person to do a great real estate transaction and to protect all your interest. So our lender partner, our lawyer partner, there's many, many things that we're going to help you with. So I've also got a custom buyer's kit, and that's where I'm going to show them these prompts. And it really depends on, if I'm dealing with somebody that's bought 4 or 5 houses, I'm going to really keep those things in the background. If I'm dealing with a first-time home buyer, I'm going to put them in the forefront. So I'm going to also tell them some things that our team will do to give them an advantage. And one of those things is I'm going to always be your go-to person, but I'm going to have somebody that's going to back me up. There's going to be Kelly Ann, my closer, that's going to back me up. There's going to be Kathy, my success manager, that helps me keep track of all the new listings that are pouring into our team to see if any of those listings are going to be something that you might want to see. And I'm also going to have a showing partner, and that's going to be so-and-so. And this can be another agent in your, if you don't have an assistant yet, then another agent. Maybe you can decide to have another agent show your clients while you're out of town. I've been in this business a long time, and nothing is more irritating to me than to get a call from a buyer who tells me that their agent is out of town, and they want me to have one of my agents show their house. Well, I think that's a thing of the past. That's a thing of the past. So if for any reason, Mr. Buyer, I'm out of town or unavailable or with a family member, you're going to have Jane over here. She's going to be there to step in, because real estate, great houses sell really, really quick. And I don't want you to lose anything that you're really excited about. So real estate can get pretty hot, fast paced. So those are some of the things that we have. But we have one other thing that might interest you. We have a love it or leave it guarantee. And that love it or leave it guarantee means for any reason, after you buy a house, if I've had all these things happen, so don't take anything personal, but if you get transferred, I've had people get transferred after they have bought a house. I have people that unfortunately got a divorce after they bought a house. So for whatever reason, I hope it's a good reason, but for whatever reason you need to leave this home in the first 60 days, we'll sell it for you at reduced fees so that you don't feel under pressure. So, and we've also got one of the things that I'm most proud about with our company is, number one, is the largest independent company in the Triangle. And we have something called off-market properties that are called our office exclusives that we can only share with our clients. And so by signing a buyer agency with us, you're going to be our client. You're going to be privy to those homes before the rest of the market gets to see them. So that can put you in a great position to find some quality real estate at a good price. And then as I go through this, I might stop on a page or two depending on who I'm talking to. So these are the things that we do behind the scenes. I might talk about that. There's actually a document that I've written up with a bunch of other agents that talked about things like septic permits, that talked about easements, that talked about all the things that go into the problem side of real estate. So we're going to be checking on all these things as much as we can to make sure that you get started, that that everything works out really well for you. So this is our duty. This page goes over our duties, and I would go over that with them. And so the first step for us to get started is for you to sign the buyer agency agreement. So Mr. Buyer, Mr. Dave Buyer, are you ready to move forward? And Dave's going to ask me to clarify whether or not every house we show them will your fee be paid. So Dave's going to ask me that. And I'm going to say, he forgot. Dave forgot.
I got it here. Let me clarify. Every house, will we know if the seller will pay your fee?
Well, Dave, that's a great question. And sometimes that might mean that the seller doesn't give me an exact fee, that he gives me a range, or that he says they don't give an exact fee and they say, well, I'm open to it. And so we have to make the offer before he'll tell us, basically. But a lot of the times they've got, I will pay X fee, and we're golden there. But these other times, I'm going to discuss with you before we go into any property so that you can make the final decision and decide. Sometimes there might be something where he's saying, I'm not paying anything, but it might be a house that's really worth it. And in that case, you're going to be working with one of my lender partners, and they've got some great ways set up for that fee in the case that the seller is not paying anything at all. But I think that that's fairly rare right now in our market. So we're going to know before we go into any house whether or not you're going to have any fee liability for that house or not. So you'll be able to decide how to move forward. So this agreement highlights my responsibilities. This has got the length of time that I'm going to put down, 6 months. How do you feel about 6 months?
I'm leaning more towards 4. I'm not comfortable with 6.
You're not sure you're going to like me for 6 months. All right. Well, what we can do is 4 months. We can do 4 months. And after 4 months, if we feel like we're really close to it, we've got the option to extend. So does that make sense?
It does, yes.
All right, good. So we're starting, and then I'm going to get him to sign the fees. And don't show up. I guess what I'm saying to you, and I've gone a little long today, and I'm ready to end it up. Don't show up to a buyer's consultation without a plan of action. Showing homes is a little bit different now. I hope I've given you some tips on how to speak with buyers on a higher, more professional level. If you want any of these prompts, we're going to have them. I'm going to have Dave put in our information so you can get them, or you can get information for us afterwards. So I've got a few minutes. Any questions?
Okay, I'm going to read through a couple questions on the chat box. Chat box is open, guys. So if you want a copy, or at least want to talk about getting your hands on a copy of these presentations, you got 3 of them here today that we went through. Just put the word "me" in the chat box, and we'll send you an email with some more information about how to download those. Again, just put the word "me" in the chat box, and we'll get back to you. Got a couple questions on the chat box. Leslie wants to know, do you have a 1-day touring agreement?
Well, we don't call it a touring agreement, but we've got a 1-day buyer agency that we would fill out for one property for 1 day. And it would protect us for that property, even if they came back and bought it 6 months from now. I'm tired of my agents going to show a property and then somebody else swooping in and taking the deal. So I like the idea that you're locking that buyer in, that if you do take your time out, your precious time out to go show that house, that you're going to get the commission if they decide to buy it.
And Rose wants to know, how are you suggesting to do an open house with people who are coming to see the house?
Well, that's a great question, Rose. I'll tell you, there is no documentation that you have to do for an open house, because you're not in buyer agency with the people that go there. You do have to have working with agents. I think it's good to have that there. And then if it gets into a conversation about buyers, maybe about that house or about houses in the other neighborhood, then you're going to have to explain pretty much as I explained when I went through the one-time showing, that there's new rules now, and that you'd love to share all those new houses with them, and you build in your value. But to have an open house, basically all you need is working with agents. But I will give you a tip about open house, and I've got a whole training on open house, and I want you to remember this if you don't remember anything else. It's something I heard from Amy, and I really liked it. And here's the saying: Sunday is gold, Monday is old. And what this means is, if you have your open house on Sunday, if you call them back on Sunday night, you're in a much better position than all those agents that call them back that following week. So I hope that makes sense to you, but you need to be ahead of the game going forward in this industry right now. It's the time to take ground. So I hope that helps. All right, guys, I appreciate you coming by today. I've loved spending time with you. We'll see you next week. If you've got any suggestions on anything you want to be trained on, I am all ears, and I'd love to talk to you about the things that are important to you. If you want a strategy session with me about your real estate career, just type into the chat. Dave will put that in there. And as always, have a great day. Go sell something.